What cars do the richest people in the world drive? Surely they all have hypercars and private jets, right? Well, no actually. Some of the richest people on earth actually drive some pretty unusual cars. So I've put together a list of the world's 20 richest people to show you what they all actually drive. By the way, before you all start going crazy in the comments, the list of the top 20 billionaires changes almost by the second depending on share prices. So I've used the most up-to-date list I can, all right? Don't complain if someone drops out of the top 20, all right? Let's get on with it. I'm Matt Watson and you're watching the Car Wow countdown of cars owned by the richest people on earth.
Buying a new car? Then head to Car Wow and my team will help you find your next car at a fair price. Car Wow, your one-stop car buying comparison site.
Let's kick off with one of China's many billionaires, Jack Ma. He used to ride his bike 70 miles a day to practice his English on tourists and is worth £36 billion. Jack's still a humble patriot at heart though, because he drives a Rowe RX-5, which is just a bog standard Chinese SUV. Phil Knight co-founded Nike and is now the 19th richest person on earth with £38 billion in the bank. Phil likes to look a bit flashy, a bit like his trainers, which is why he drives an Audi R8. It's also fitting that the R8 has a recognisable swoosh down the side, a bit like a Nike trainer. Mackenzie Jewett is one of the richest women on the planet, but she keeps herself to herself. She suddenly found more than £39 billion in her bank after she divorced ex-husband Jeff Bezos, the guy who founded Amazon, if you didn't know already. But she didn't waltz down to a Bentley dealership and splurge a few $100 grand on a new car. She remarried a school science teacher called Dan and likes to keep a low profile. So low that no one knows exactly what car she drives, but she has been linked to a Honda minivan in the past. Really living it up there, Mackenzie, making the most of all that cash, eh? Michael Bloomberg is a businessman, a philanthropist and an author, and he was mayor of New York City from 2002 to 2013. Anyway, Bloomberg, who's worth a cool £42 billion, owns an Audi R8, just like Nike founder Phil Knight. But I want to talk about his Chevy Suburban. You know, one of those massive gas-guzzling SUVs we don't get in the UK. He had one of these and he used to drive it around New York, which is odd because he used to be all about environmental awareness when he was city mayor. Ma Huateng founded Tencent, which is a massive social media technology company in China. He started it in 1998 and now he's worth about £44 billion, but he doesn't drive a Rolls Royce or a Bentley. He actually has a Volvo S80. Now that might seem like an odd choice, but his car is the long wheelbase S80L. And that version is actually built in China, not Sweden. Nice one, Mark, keeping it local. The next richest people on my list are Alice, Jim and Rob Walton. They are the three siblings who are heir to the massive Walmart fortune. Alice has a net worth of almost £46 billion. Jim isn't far behind with nearly £45 billion, but poor Rob, he has to make do with just £44 billion. Anyway, between them, they've got £134 billion to splash about. So it's a bit strange that Alice drives a Ford F-150 King Ranch pickup and Jim used to cruise around in a Dodge Dakota. Rob is the family petrol head though. He has a massive car collection that includes a Ferrari 250 GTO. That car is worth more than £34 million on its own. Carlos Slim Hel has his fingers in loads of pies, which is probably why he's so stinking rich. In total, he's worth more than £47 billion and he's got a thing for Bentleys. He used to have an original Continental Flying Spur, but now he's upgraded to the new model. Zhong Shanshan is one of the richest men in Asia, but he actually dropped out of school when he was just 12 years old. He used to work in construction, then as a journalist, and he even became a mushroom salesman before he founded his bottled water company in 1996. He's now worth more than £48 billion, but he's super secretive about what he spends his money on. And no one really knows what car he drives, but he owns a bottled water business, so I reckon he should get a Toyota Mirai because it's powered by hydrogen and produces water out of the exhaust, which he could then bottle and sell. The next person on my list is Steve Ballmer. He was the CEO of Microsoft from 2000 to 2014. He's worth more than £50 billion these days, and he even owns the Los Angeles Clippers basketball team. but he's originally from Detroit, which is where Ford started off. In fact, Steve's dad used to work for Ford, and Steve's been loyal to the Blue Oval ever since. He actually loves them so much that when he bought a Ford Fusion in 2010, then Ford CEO Alan Mulally actually drove it to his house to deliver it personally. Still a pretty crap car though. Sorry, it is. The richest woman on planet Earth is Francoise Bettencourt Meyer. She's heiress to the L'Oreal fortune. She's worth £55 billion, so is definitely worth it, like the L'Oreal advertising slogan says. But like a lot of other billionaires, Francoise is notoriously secretive, so there's no record of what she drives. But she's French and works in the beauty industry, so I'm just going to assume she drives around in a DS9. That'll do, won't it? Let's move on. Amancio Ortega is the 10th richest person on Earth, and he amassed his whopping £58 billion fortune through a company called Inditex. They own Zara, the clothing chain. Amancio is a very private man. He's only given 3 interviews in his entire life, but he has been seen driving around in an Audi A8 and a Mercedes GL. So, the usual rich guy wheels then. Indian multi-billionaire Mukesh Ambani is Asia's richest man. He's worth more than £59 billion and lives a proper lavish lifestyle. He has a whole fleet of cars, including Rolls Royces, BMWs and Aston Martins. But the coolest car he drives is a Maybach 62, mainly because his wife bought it for him as a birthday present. What do you get a man who has everything? Why not a personalised Maybach? Buy it with his own money as well. Larry Ellison co-founded the computer firm Oracle, and now is worth more than £65 billion. And he's sunk a fair chunk of that cash into a serious car collection that includes a McLaren F1 and a Lexus LFA. But he doesn't drive these to work. For that, he uses a Lexus LS 600H. How very sensible. I reckon I'd rather commute in the LFA, to be honest, but there you go. It's one of the coolest cars ever made, and you have to hear its naturally aspirated V10. It's amazing. Larry Page and Sergey Brin founded Google. So they're pretty minted, aren't they? They both have around £65 billion in wealth, and they have a similar taste in cars as well. Both of them used to have an original Tesla Roadster. That's pretty cool. But they've also had a Toyota Prius at one point too. And that's kind of uncool. Maybe next time they should simply just Google interesting cars for sale. Hey? Try it next time, guys. Warren Buffett is one of those classic Wall Street types. He's made his millions, well, billions actually, through a load of savvy investments. He's given away a load of cash to charity as well, but he's still got more than $69 billion in wealth left. Despite this, he's famously reluctant to spend any money. So the most interesting car he's had over the years is an old Cadillac XTS, and really that's not very interesting at all. Mark Zuckerberg looks like an android who's just spent all his pocket money on Star Trek action figures, but he's actually worth more than £73 billion. That's a handy side effect of running the world's largest social media company. Rumour has it that Zuck does have some special cars, like a Pagani Huayra, but he's also been spotted pottering around in a Honda Jazz. 73 billion in wealth, and he drives a Honda Jazz. Told you he wasn't human. Bill Gates used to be the world's richest man, but he's slipped to 4th place these days. Boo-hoo, dry your eyes, Bill. He still has more than £91 billion in wealth though, so let's not feel too sorry for him. And Bill's a proper petrolhead too. Take his Porsche 959 for example. He bought it new in the 1980s, but he couldn't import it to America because it didn't meet crash testing regulations. So he had to wait 13 years before he could import his historic car. Talk about dedication. Bernard Arnault is the boss of the largest luxury goods company in the world and owns brands like Moet and Louis Vuitton. So he has a few quid tucked away. Well, in fact, he's worth £116 billion. He's another one of those secretive super rich club, but he's been spotted in an old BMW 7 Series from before 2015. Although it's the 760 Li version with a twin-turbo V12, so that's still pretty cool. But would he be better off with a Maybach? Elon Musk is a bit like a Bond supervillain. He's tech-obsessed and super rich. £120 billion rich to be precise. And he's had a few flashy cars over the years, including a McLaren F1 that he bought back in the 90s. And he's also blasted his own personal Tesla Roadster into space on one of his rockets. You know, as you do when you're a multi-billionaire. But back in 2013, Musk bought the Lotus Esprit Bond car from the film The Spy Who Loved Me. He paid almost £600,000 for it at auction and said he wants to turn it into a proper working submarine. He probably will as well. The richest man in the world is Jeff Bezos, who is worth a cool £131 billion. Anyway, he's not known for flaunting his exotic motors, but back in the 90s when Jeff first became a billionaire, he was still driving around in a 5th generation Honda Accord. Each to their own, Jeff. Each to their own.